This week, I thought we'd take a little bit of a break from all the relentless digging that's been happening as a little treat to all of us. It is finally time to unveil all of my plans for plot 36. Hello everybody, thanks so much for tuning in. So I'm Tim here at My Carbon Coach. So this week I've brought Derek the drone with me so we can take a proper top-down look at the plot. I'll be filling you in on where the beds are going to be going and my vision to make a hopefully lovely little haven for my wife and I. I've had a few different ideas about the types of herbs and vegetables that I want to attempt to grow, but I haven't yet set those in stone, or should I say soil. I also want to start laying this plan out a little bit. So I've brought some pecans and some biodegradable twine with me so that we can get a real sense of the scale of things on the ground. So with that said, let's get Derek up in the air and take a look. So here's what the plot looks like from above, which is super exciting. I absolutely love it. And before we get started on the plan, I just want to point out how visible that massive crater is. And I actually found out some really interesting information whilst I was up here at the allotment today. I'd always been told that the plot had been used for some fly tipping and stuff. However, it's actually the previous owner had a lily pond, which is so cute. I absolutely love that, and I bet it looked amazing. But sadly, no remnants of that left at all. But you can kind of see that there is a bit of plastic in there, so maybe that was the liner left over. With my plan, the first thing that we're going to put in is a nice little path leading from the edge of the plot all the way to the shed door. And it's going to be the same width as the shed door. And then what I'm going to do is split the plot in half lengthways with the path continuing all the way down to my neighbour. Right here on the right hand side is something that we'll all be familiar with. I've talked about it for 2 videos now, and that is going to be my Wildflower Patch. So won't go into too much details here. However, that's probably going to be the home of my hedgehog house and quite possibly the bug hotel as well, hopefully. Then next to the path, I'm going to put in 2 herb garden raised beds. And these are going to be 2 meters by 2 meters, 2 square ones with a little bit of space between them just for access of ease of gardening. I've got a few ideas of what I want to plant in them so far, so things like rosemary, sage, basil, although that might need to be a greenhouse item, I'm not 100% sure, and thyme, all on my list, and flowers like nasturtiums and bergamots sound really exciting. There's also going to be a little lavender border along the side of the footpath, so that should be really cute as well. Next, in the big space in the lower half of the allotment, I'm going to have 3 rather long, quite wide vegetable beds. Now these are going to be the length from the edge of the plot up to that bisecting path, and I've planned for them to be 1.5 meters to 2 meters wide, and I've got a few plans with these as well. So in the first one, I'd like to grow some onions, specifically red onions. I'm a huge fan of chutney, so that will really help me to home make some chutney. Also fancy growing some garlic, and I'm not sure of varieties yet, and spring onions as well sound really appealing. In plot number 2, I quite fancy growing some root vegetables. So parsnips, I absolutely adore parsnips. And I've actually got a Jamie Oliver cookbook, which has got a fantastic pasta recipe which uses parsnips and pancetta, which tastes absolutely lush and is one of my wife's favourite meals that I cook for her. Potatoes are also going in here because why not? And I want to look in to see whether it's possible to grow sweet potatoes in the UK or not, because I love a good baked sweet potato. The final bed I haven't really thought too much about yet, but I want some kind of leaves possibly, so things like spinach or rocket might be a possibility. In the upper half of the plot, this is where things are going to get quite interesting. Running along the side of the greenhouse, I plan on putting in a water butt, and as suggested, I need to get some guttering on the shed. There has been some there before, and I've found the remnants, However, it needs replacing, etc. So that's going to be a job, I think, for in the summer. The plan is to paint the shed as well, and I'll come on to that when I get round to it. I'm also planning on having one of those little like pop-up greenhouses against the side of the shed so I can tether it to it so it's not going to fall over. One of those sort of like jobbies that you get from Wilko's that's got kind of like the plastic cover with the zip on it. And in that, I'm probably going to be doing some chilies, maybe peppers, depending how big it is, that kind of thing. I just have to watch out because the window's on that side and I don't want to obscure any sunlight coming in. Next, I'm actually going to grow some grass, and this is because we don't have a garden. We live on the second floor in a block of flats with no garden, no outside space, and in the summer I want somewhere where I can relax, knock my wife up a G&T, not knock my wife up, and yeah, just somewhere to relax. So going to have a square patch of grass with possibly like a picnic bench on it, that kind of thing, and running along the back just to separate it from my neighbours. I was thinking of putting up some kind of a trellis and getting some sunflowers on the go, which I've always wanted to grow, and I think they just look beautiful. So that's going to be the plan for that. Next to it, then, in the top left-hand corner, is going to be a future project, and this is going to be my fruit growing area. Now, I've seen people growing fruit in cages, presumably to protect from birds and things like that. So I'll need to construct materials, get a hold of that, and that will cost money potentially. So that's going to be a while. But as we know, there are some fruit bushes along the back there anyway, so that's kind of come in handy. And then at the very back in the left hand side top corner is going to be my composting area. So gonna hopefully get a hold of some pallets like everyone has suggested and build myself quite a robust composting area over in that corner. It's out of the way from everything, but there'll be a little path sort of around the back of the fruit cages just to make it super accessible. So that is what I'm planning. So that was my plan so far, and no doubt it'll evolve as I get round to doing each section, but that's okay. Okay, so I've run out of pecans, but I've done a fair bit of work. They are green, so they blend in a little bit, but you can just about make them out. So I've marked out going along here is the path leading up to the shed, and then heading this way is the main path through the allotment, which is again the same width as the shed door. And there's a train just going by, and that runs all the way up to the edge of the allotment. Got to leave a gap down the side there as a communal path, but that's alright. So that's those paths marked out. Then if we swing back here, then you'll be able to see from this line the extent of the wildflower section. So it is quite a small section of the plot. Then looking at these herb beds, they are pretty huge. They go all the way from, that is the first corner, and it goes all the way up to that cane, all the way across to there, and then back down to there. That is a 2 metre by 2 metre square, and there are 2 of them. So that, I feel, actually marking it out might be a little bit excessive. Also, a 50 centimetre border for the lavenders down this side might be too wide as well, so I might be able to tighten all of that up and get even more other beds in. Then onto what I imagined would be the actual veg plots. Then we've got, so one here, 1.5 metres, and that goes all the way over to basically in a line with the shed. We've got another one here, so then that goes all the way up there, and you can make out the pecans in the big crater in the distance. They're faintly visible. And then over here we've got the final bed, and now this bed, because of the communal gap, which I forgot to leave in my plans, is actually smaller than 1.5 metres, but does go the full way back, if I can just watch my step, all the way back here to the path. So the lines aren't quite square. I'm okay with that. This is just a rough guide to have a look. I think I'm happy with the size of the veg beds. I think these are perfectly manageable for me. They've got a little bit of a kind of like a 50 centimetre, half a metre gap between them again. So I feel that that's, if I just step in one, yeah, that feels wide enough for me to walk down and work in. So I haven't been able to mark out over there, but it definitely looks visibly that there's going to be enough space for the little picnic bench and composting area over here backing onto my neighbour's shed, and the fruit eventually when that gets done. So I'm pretty happy with the layout. The only thing that really does concern me is the size of those two herb garden beds, and that's something that I'm going to have to go away and think about, whether I can actually fill both of those or if I need to reduce them and do something else instead. I'll be back soon with an update on the wildflower garden and putting in my first pathway. So in the meantime, if you'd like to do all of the usual YouTube business, like hitting that subscribe button, ringing the bell notification icon so you get told when new videos come out, and don't forget giving the video a thumbs up, that is always handy. A massive thank you to everyone that has so far. I really can't believe how fast the channel has grown to over 100 subscribers. I am really grateful and extremely humbled by it. So until next time, look after yourselves, look after your allotments, and have an absolutely awesome week. Bye for now.